The room hums with cheap fluorescence and colder intentions. A laptop glows like a judge's eye on a folding table, paused on a grainy frame. A young waitress in a teal polo, cheeks fallen, a bite suspended between shame and hunger. Plastic chairs line the walls like pews that won't forgive. Grease shadows ripple across ceiling tiles, turning the break room into a chapel of policy. A stack of reprimand forms waits beside a cracked mug. The air carries coffee burned past redemption and lemon disinfectant that never masks the fryer. Coworkers hold their breath the way people watch an approaching crash. The cursor blinks against her face as if counting sins. Somewhere beyond the door, a dishwasher hammers. A birthday song echoes thinly. Cash drawers rattle in a register's tired throat. Inside, the tribunal tightens. An unblinking camera lens nests in the corner, black and round as an omen, recording every flinch under light that forgives nothing. A manager's posture becomes the room's metronome, arms folded like a locked gate, eyes trained on the frozen screen. The corporate handbook lies open to fine print that might as well be barbed wire. Bodies drift into formation, line cooks, servers, dish hands, arranged along the walls with the slow gravity of storm clouds. Some faces harden, others look past the image to a place that pays rent. Condensation slicks a cooler door. The hum grows louder until it feels like a reprimand. Near the microwave, a handwritten note promises teamwork in ink already smudged by hopeless hands. The paused frame keeps breathing, a pixelated chest rising and falling, the unforgiving timestamp carved across it like a verdict date. In the fluorescent quiet, judgment doesn't need volume. It lives in the tilt of shoulders, the shuffle of non-committal sneakers, the practiced neutrality of people who have learned survival by staying silent and letting policy speak for them.
Backtrack to the clang and clatter, where names wash off with suds. A young man stands buried to the wrists in gray water, steam ghosting up his forearms, apron damp and heavy as contrition. Stainless walls reflect a bent version of him, anonymous and useful. Plates cue like testimony, each complaining with a brittle scrape. The clock above the exit smirks toward midnight. A cook slaps down another tub. A cascade of silverware rattles like cheap chains. Soap stings knuckles split by detergent. Rubber gloves squeak, protest swallowed by industrial fans. Somewhere beyond the pass, a server's laugh thins into exhaustion, the kind that tastes metallic. He learns the rhythm of survival here. Stack, rinse, sanitize, ignore the ache, become a hinge that never squeals. The first lesson isn't speed or efficiency. It's how to disappear so thoroughly that nobody notices the person holding the machine together, only the machine that keeps demanding more. Elsewhere, glass multiplies the sky, and money lives in the floor's reflection. A different version of the same man floats inside a corner office memory. Leather chairs fat with power, a skyline that mistakes height for virtue. A portrait of legacy hangs level as a leveler's threat. Spreadsheets churn through projections like weather maps for people who never get wet. Elevator doors whisper closed on soft carpets that drink sound. The name on the building doubles as absolution and weight. It follows even when scrubbed from a name tag. In that clean world, cost curves bow under certain hands, and benefits vanish with a keystroke no one hears scream. Exile is not a punishment here. It is an assignment sealed inside a smile. Down below, where grease replaces polish, exile becomes apprenticeship to pain. The two worlds touch only in mirrors, one face 2 inches from steam, the other 2 inches from the stratosphere.
Return to the diner, where time caramelizes on every surface. The air wears yesterday's bacon and a funerary bouquet of burnt coffee, undercut by chemical lemon that fools no one. Booth vinyl splits like a tired grin. Duct tape stitches hold where wealth refuses to. The past coughs plates and frantic bursts. Heat lamps reddening fries into stubborn survivors. A cook flicks wrists over a grill that hisses like rain on a hot road. The floor maps years of spills, soda ghosts, ketchup comets, a slippery constellation of anonymous overtime. A jukebox sulks dark in the corner, requiem for tips that never came. Under this glow, ambition rusts into utility. A manager's clipboard clacks once, a sound with a payroll's edge. The place is not dying, it's grinding, and grinding is slower, more personal. It thins dignity thread by thread until uniforms hang heavier, and names become positions, and positions become punishments with clock-out codes. Night deepens to the thin hour when neon turns lonely. The kitchen's lights seed to a single rectangle of safety above the prep table, a halo that can't save. The rustle is so slight it might be memory, paper whispering, a wrapper's defeated sigh. Metal shelves bulletin the cold with stored cans and institutional onions. The storage room door rests ajar like a mouth reluctant to confess. Air slides colder through the gap, carrying the ghost of mustard, stale buns, fryer oil that never leaves. The sound comes again, fragile but insistent, a moth batting the dark. The dish pit's rhythm falters, reorients toward that seam of shadow. Somewhere a clock ticks overly loud, its seconds dressed as warnings. Fear here is not cinematic, it is ordinary, shaped like curiosity. The quiet makes the building taller. Even tiles start to listen as soft soles cross them. The light over the prep table winks, then steadies, deciding, for now, to watch.
He breaks the threshold with the caution of someone stepping into rumor. Shelves frame a makeshift stage, boxes stacked like scenery, a mop leaning like a haggard usher. Under a flickering bulb, a young woman holds half a burger cupped in both hands, elbows tight, shoulders curved inward to make less surface for the world. The teal polo's embroidery shines like a name confessing itself. Knees press against the plastic crate. The floor prints old spills into a city map of defeats. She eats the way people breathe, quick and quiet, eyes fixed where the tile meets wall, as if studying escape. The wrapper makes tiny thunder, each fold ceremony. No theft swagger, only ritual gratitude, the careful pace of someone who understands prices beyond money. A grocery bag rests beside her with other small rescues arranged inside, labeled by fate. The bulb sputters, the room inhales, hunger takes off its mask and stops pretending. When the last bite ends, reverence begins. The wax paper smooths against her thigh, palm heating grease into transparency, edges tucked until the thing is square and small, a soft indictment no heavier than breath. The grocery bag's mouth opens, containers nest inside like modest inheritances. She catalogs without ink. Fries for a boy built from sprint and worry, half a sandwich for a girl who still names her dolls, dessert only if luck left cake. Before leaving, hands find a rag by habit. Surfaces already cleaned surrender again to circles patient as prayer. Knobs twist in ritual order, switches click down like code words. She doesn't rush the door because speed feels like guilt. The bag lifts with the weight that is mostly responsibility. The bulb flickers a last benediction across cheeks carved by shift work. The hallway receives her and says nothing. Shadows fold back in. The room resets to empty, except for the odor of dignity.
Stillness remains after departure, the way thunder leaves air furred. In that leftover quiet, a watcher stands half-ghosted by shelves, pulse drumming in dishwater rhythm. What he is seen rearranges the furniture inside his chest. The vocabulary of theft collapses under the grammar of need. The grocery bag becomes a lifeline braided from other people's forgetfulness. He stares at the door Mia closed softly behind her and learns the architecture of secrecy. Small exits, practiced timing, a choreography meant to keep mercy invisible. The fluorescent settles into a steady hiss, like the building asking him to unsee. Everything familiar looks wrong now. The prep table gleams with a surgeon's indifference. The clock above the time cards counts toward a camera installation that will turn hunger into evidence. Across the din of memory, he hears coins chatter in a tip jar that never fills, and the sound lands like rain on a locked window. Morning drags daylight across the break room like a reluctant mop. The laptop waits, power cord coiled like a leash. Faces gather again under the authoritarian hum, each with a private budget of compassion and fear. The frozen image returns, not a person, but a case study annotated by rumor. A poster on the wall sells teamwork with clip art smiles. The tape slouches at the corners as if embarrassed. The vending machine blinks price tags that insult hunger. On the table, a stack of corrective action forms fans out in corporate plumage. The air conditioner breathes rules in a register that chills wrists. Somewhere a delivery truck backfires, a jolt that fails to wake anyone from compliance. The cursor blinks over Mia's paused mouth, as though translating appetite into crime. In that mechanical blink, 1,000 private verdicts settled like dust, and the room becomes a scale that never learned where to place the weight of a life.
Sunlight forces its way through streaked glass, bleaching the kitchen into confession. Greg Lawson sits in the office aquarium, blinds half closed, face lit by monitor glow and caffeine. Noah hovers near the doorway, the obedient silhouette of a man pretending to belong. The space smells of reheated pizza and tired ambition. Paperwork towers like defenses, each sticky note a small surrender. Greg's fingers drum policy rhythms while his words measure cost per head. Somewhere, numbers erase people. On the bulletin board, a memo from corporate curls at the corners. Meal benefit discontinued, cost containment measure. The phrase hangs like mildew. Noah nods on cue, absorbing the casual cruelty. The manager's shrug punctuates the meeting better than any signature. Outside, Friars reawaken, oblivious. In his pocket, Noah's knuckles tighten around a pen until the plastic creaks, the only protest allowed. The day begins again, wrapped in the sterile comfort of someone else's authority. Rules arrive printed, framed, and laminated in the hallway. Greg's new directive glows under plastic. Theft prevention checklist, 0 tolerance, staff compliance signatures required. The words smell like toner and fear. Employees queue reluctantly, pens trembling like small acts of dissent. The break room clock ticks faster now, each second another unpaid minute. Over the sink, a flyer advertises 20% employee discount in bold, cheery font. Beneath it, a trash bin yawns with uneaten fries and half burgers, company property until declared garbage. Noah watches ink dry beside trembling names. The sign-in sheet feels heavier with each scrawl. When Greg announces new cameras, no one argues. Resistance has been costed out of the budget. A small red light blinks to life above the kitchen door, replacing trust with surveillance. Somewhere in that antiseptic glow, Noah sees the shape of punishment forming, patient and perfect, waiting for the hungry to make its story true.
The lunch rush detonates at 11. Orders barked, tickets slapped, grease singing like applause for endurance. Mia moves through the noise with surgical precision, refilling waters, sliding plates, erasing herself between demands. Her ponytail swings like a pendulum measuring exhaustion, every motion small enough to escape complaint. Noah, buried in dishes, tracks her reflection in metal pans, an apparition performing grace for wages that starve. Customers chew and forget her in the same bite, each thank you muttered without eye contact. The register spits receipts that outlive gratitude. He notes how invisibility polishes itself. Shoulders narrower, steps quieter, emotions shrunk to customer-safe sizes. When the bell above the door chimes, her smile activates like automation.
efficiency mistaken for dignity, obedience mistaken for character. The noise builds, but she remains an unacknowledged center, gravity hidden behind polyester teal. Watching becomes harder than scrubbing, because both remove stains that keep returning no matter how clean the rinse. Midday light reveals the slow decay of morale. Ketchup fingerprints on menus, napkins folded like surrender flags. A customer's complaint echoes across linoleum. Wrong drink, wrong everything. Mia bows through apologies that stack higher than plates. She retreats to the counter, wrists trembling as she remakes perfection. The air conditioning coughs dust into her hair. Nobody notices. A manager's glance evaluates seconds, not suffering. Across the aisle, two coworkers snicker between orders. Pity curdles into mockery. The restaurant's rhythm depends on this hierarchy. One person punished so the rest can breathe easier. Noah watches her shoulders stiffen, back straightened not by pride, but by necessity. He recognizes the choreography of humiliation. Head lowered to survive, voice trimmed to fit the room. Outside, sunlight blinds the windows into mirrors, showing her reflection beside discarded napkins and forgotten coins. Inside that reflection, dignity shrinks smaller than tips, yet refuses to vanish completely.
Steam clouds the corners of thought, mixing detergent with rumor. Eli Sandoval leans against the drain board, voice muffled by machine roar, spinning theories like soap bubbles. She's cold, stuck up, doesn't talk. The words drift above the clatter, land soft but bruise deep. Noah scrubs, nods, lets noise disguise disapproval. The dishwasher's kingdom is small but merciless. Gossip fills the silence between rinse cycles. Forks rattle like applause for cruelty. Somewhere, Mia's laugh, a sound so rare it startles, cuts through the hiss, then disappears under the next load. Eli grins at his own indifference, unaware it stains. Humiliation thrives best in rooms where everyone's tired enough to join it. Noah stares at the drain as gray water swirls away bits of lettuce, crumbs, soap, pride. He wonders if conscience can drown quietly, or if it floats, waiting to be scooped out, rinsed, and reused until nothing pure remains. Midnight returns with its low hum and predictable ache. The diner breathes slower, lights dim to endurance mode. Mia appears again, small against the refrigerator glow, moving with the quiet certainty of habit. She collects what others left to die, a half sandwich, wilted fries, soup cooling in its bowl. Each motion deliberate, ceremonial. Then she cleans, always cleans, surfaces already shining. The repetition feels like penance, a bargain with guilt no one else perceives. The room listens. Stainless counters mirror her devotion back at her. Outside, wind flicks litter against the glass. Inside, she organizes order from waste, dignity from discards. Noah watches from the corner, the voyeurism of compassion heavy in his lungs. Her stillness teaches him everything the boardroom never could. Every crumb she saves rewrites his inheritance. When she finally leaves, the air holds its breath, and the bulb above the prep table seems to dim out of respect.
Sleep avoids him. In the rented room above the laundromat, Noah's hands still ache phantom heat from dishwater. Images loop, Mia folding wrappers like prayers, shoulders tight against shame. The ceiling fan murmurs accounting terms he can't unlearn: cost, waste, compliance. His father's voice overlays it all, sterile and sure. He realizes empathy here is treason against profit. The ledger offers no cell for decency. Beneath that knowledge, something cracks, not loud, but final. The family name, the empire's weight, the myth of fairness, all fracture under the soft sound of someone eating to survive. His reflection in the window looks foreign, the heir turned accomplice. Outside, a billboard glows with company branding, smiling employees under the slogan, "We care." The light leaks through blinds, bleaching conscience into clarity. He understands then that care without cost is branding, not salvation, and the difference is measured in how hungry people look under cameras. Emails drip like a faucet in his phone, deadlines, key performance indicators, polite threats. Richard Martinez's message arrives stripped of affection, status update due by noon. Noah stares at it until the screen times out. Downstairs, a timer buzzes for fries. Above, the corporate clock ticks for patience. Every hour closer to discovery feels narrower. Policy expands like smoke through vents, invisible but suffocating. He could lie, postpone, or obey, all paths ending in betrayal. The digital clock on the wall refuses sympathy. Its red digits march. Around him, the diner spins a smaller orbit of exhaustion, cooks laughing too loud, servers counting crumpled singles, Mia scrubbing syrup from a tabletop she didn't dirty. Time here measures and breaks missed, meals skipped, hours sold. He types no reply. Instead, he listens to the clock's mechanical certainty, wondering when compassion became a liability, reportable as loss.
Rumor always finds dry wood. By afternoon, whispers have names and edges. Jessica Pratt spreads them like seasoning over fries. Caught on camera, taking bags, no shame at all. The others nod, needing someone below them to feel tall. Laughter ricochets through the kitchen, nervous and sharp. Mia walks past, shoulders locked, hearing every syllable, but granting none of them entry. The red recording light above the prep line blinks approval. Noah wipes plates that no longer need wiping, his jaw clenched against language he can't risk speaking. Gossip becomes a second soundtrack, low and persistent, syncing with the fryer's hiss. Even silence joins it, consenting by omission. By closing time, suspicion has built a body and a face. It wears Mia's uniform, her badge, her fatigue. When she finally clocks out, the laughter fades, satisfied. Humiliation doesn't require proof, only repetition pronounced with enough confidence to sound like truth. The day ends, but the tension doesn't. In the dish pit's reflection, Noah catches her passing by, a ghost moving under flickering light. For a moment, her eyes meet her own reflection in the silver wall. It freezes there, twin gazes layered, one tired, one accused. The metal breathes steam between them, turning both images to blur. She adjusts her hair, a gesture of control in a place designed to remove it. Outside, a bus exhales air brakes. Inside, the sink gurgles its endless swallow. Noah senses the frame tightening around her life like a camera lens focusing for the perfect confession. The world has already decided what it wants to see, a thief, not a sister, not a survivor. Her reflection blinks away first, the metal cools, the lights cut to half. Somewhere deep in the pipes, the drain sighs, taking the day's residue with it, leaving only rumor and fatigue.
The street outside hums with sodium light, the air sharp with winter oil and gasoline. Noah waits in his car, engine off, watching the diner darken like a long exhaling smoke. A bus sighs to a stop across the intersection. Mia appears beneath its flickering sign, shoulders drawn tight beneath a thrift store coat. She boards without looking back, the doors hiss shut, swallowing her silhouette. Noah follows from a distance, headlights off when he can, conscience louder than tires on wet asphalt. The city unfolds in corridors of ruin, pawn shops asleep behind bars, advertisements peeling like old skin. He tells himself it's investigation, that understanding her struggle might fix something larger. But the truth sits heavy. He's hunting dignity in the wild, tracking a woman too proud to ask for mercy. The bus turns toward the outskirts, where neon dies and quiet begins, and Noah drives deeper into the gravity of what he doesn't yet know. The bus snakes through streets that remember better days, storefronts boarded like missing teeth, puddles reflecting broken signage, open 24 hours now a lie. Lampposts flicker Morse code for despair. Through the window, Noah watches commuters dissolve into ghosts of shift work, faces lit by phones and fatigue. The bus interior smells of disinfectant and unspoken stories. Mia sits halfway down, grocery bag on her lap, head lowered,
lips moving faintly in silent math, dividing leftovers among small hungers. She presses the bag closer, as if warmth could multiply. Each stop strips another layer of city comfort until only necessity remains. A corner store with metal grates, a church promising free soup on Thursdays. Noah follows, the car's heater breathing guilt. The city outside his tinted glass is a mirror turned cruel, showing him what the family empire paved over to build its towers. 1,000,000 quiet survivals, none on the balance sheet.
The bus halts at the far edge of light, where asphalt surrenders to gravel. Mia steps into the chill, the grocery bag swinging like a secret. Her building stands crooked against the sky, brick flaking in layers of former color. Windows flicker behind thin curtains, breathing pale warmth into the cold. Noah parks half a block away, his suit jacket still hanging in the back seat, a relic of the world above. He watches her climb stairs that moan beneath memory. A light blooms on the 3rd floor, then steadies. The sound of laughter bursts through a cracked window, quick, unguarded, hungry. He edges closer until he can see the doorway of apartment 3C, where a family should have been but isn't. The smell of boiled rice and wet plaster carries down the hallway. The grocery bag disappears inside. The door shuts. Silence resumes, thicker than before, the kind that has learned to survive by not asking for witnesses. Through a half-open curtain, Noah glimpses movement. 2 children, thin and electric with joy, crash into Mia's waist. Small hands clutching fabric. Their mouths move fast, the language of hope unmuted. Asking, pleading, grateful all at once. Inside, light flickers over walls stripped to concrete. A couch slouches under years, and toys improvise from discarded things. Bottle caps, string, imagination. Mia kneels, unpacking the bag with care that borders ceremony. Burgers split, fries rationed, a slice of cake crumbled but revered. The children eat like memory might take it away. She watches them with the stillness of someone feeding faith. Noah's chest tightens until breath feels impolite. Hunger is no longer metaphor. It's the sound of chewing in a room too quiet. The sight of love portioned by necessity. When she looks up briefly toward the window, her eyes meet the dark outside. For a second, he thinks she senses him. Then she turns away, already busy saving what remains.
Minutes stretch. The children finish. She wipes crumbs from their faces with a tenderness that humbles time itself. They retreat to the worn couch, heads touching, eyes heavy from full bellies and exhaustion. Nia sits apart at the table, staring at the remaining scraps as if debating permission. Her fingers brush a cold fry, hesitate, withdraw. She drinks water instead. The gesture is small, almost invisible, yet it detonates something in Noah's chest. She smiles faintly at the sleeping shapes on the couch, a smile that forgives the world for every cruelty it dealt her. The room's single bulb hums approval. Outside, a train wails through the distance, carrying wealth somewhere else. Noah steps back from the window, ashamed of the comfort his own hunger has always been. The building's peeling paint flakes downward like snow. Inside, a mother's love performs quiet miracles no policy ever budgeted for, and no camera ever bothered to see. From the opposite door, an elderly woman shuffles into view, slippers sighing against concrete. Mrs. Chen carries a grocery sack light enough to seem symbolic. 2 cans, maybe bread, maybe hope. Mia greets all with a small bow of gratitude. The exchange happens in gestures, hands meeting, heads nodding, poverty performing grace. Mrs. Chen smiles, touches Mia's shoulder, retreats. The hallway light stutters once, leaving them haloed in shared endurance. Inside, the children peek through the crack, whisper thanks and giggles that carry more sincerity than language.
Noah watches from his car, breath fogging lasts, heart rehearsing apologies it will never deliver. Above them, an advertisement flickers on a distant billboard, his family's restaurant logo promising freshness, family, future. The irony glows brighter than the moon. The two women disappear into their doors. Lights dim. The building exhales, a collective surrender. Compassion here is local, small-scale, and far more operational than any corporate plan ever drafted.
His phone lights up the car's interior, slicing darkness into executive blue. One text: update on branch 47, status. The sender's name carries authority like gravity. Noah's thumbs hover but refuse the ritual of reply. Around him, the night breathes cold into the car vents, the steering wheel damp under nervous palms. He imagines his father reading the silence as defiance, an infraction measured in profit lost. But watching Mia through that window, defiance feels holy. The phone buzzes again, small, insistent, the heartbeat of a system demanding obedience. He flips it face down. The glow dies. Across the street, the third-floor light softens to sleep. A curtain flutters shut. The city resumes its background hum, unaware that someone just chose conscience over compliance. Noah reclines in the seat, eyes burning, realizing rebellion doesn't always roar. It often whispers no inside a car parked where hope has learned to live quietly. Morning drips pale through blinds. In the diner's back hallway, an old phone mounted near the time cards plays a recorded HR message on repeat. Employees above threshold are ineligible for hardship assistance. Thank you for your dedication. The speaker crackles each word like static dressed as mercy. Noah listens once, twice, until the syllables bruise. The line between policy and punishment dissolves. He imagines Mia dialing that number, waiting through hold music designed to pacify desperation, hearing the verdict of unworthiness spoken in customer service tones. The message ends with a chirp of faux cheer. He hangs up, hand trembling, grease still under his nails. Outside, deliveries arrive, frozen patties, new uniforms, boxes stamped fresh start. Irony keeps perfect timing. The lie is structural, a system that calls hunger mismanagement, calls survival theft. Somewhere, a camera blinks awake above him. The red light winks like laughter. He punches in for his shift anyway.
Silver domes bloom across ceilings overnight, small black lenses glinting where cobwebs once lived. Every angle covered, every motion stored. Employees pretend not to notice, eyes lowered as though surveillance were weather. The air feels thinner now, conditioned by caution. Mia wipes tables with exaggerated care, aware of the gaze humming above her. Greg smiles more. Authority thrives when observed. Noah studies reflections on metal, tiny versions of himself multiplied and distorted. Each glint a reminder that empathy will be recorded, time-stamped, and possibly used against him. The kitchen becomes a stage where fear performs compliance. Even laughter sounds defensive. Somewhere fryer pops, heads turn like suspects. Cameras are sold as safety but taste like control. Noah imagines the footage accumulating, days compressed into data that knows everything except truth. Above the exit, one lens follows his movement faithfully, patient as destiny, waiting for someone kind enough to break a rule. Night settles again, dense and electric. The cameras blink, omniscient eyes sealing everyone's fate in slow digital ink. Noah lingers after shift, leaning against the metal sink, the smell of bleach thick enough to sting thought. The memory of those children eating still clings to him, more permanent than grease. In his locker, the uniform tag bears a false name that now feels cowardly. He thinks of sending a report blaming inefficiency, poor morale, anything safe. Instead, he folds the paper blank, pockets it, walks out. Outside, the sky has no stars, just city lights smearing accountability. A bus groans by, echoing the one that carried her home. He feels the timeline closing, the cameras ready to catch the next night she reaches for sustenance. He makes his vow there, in the alley. Delay the report, shield her until he finds proof that compassion can outlast policy. The vow tastes like rust, but feels alive.
Morning bleeds through blinds already trembling from fryer noise. Greg's inbox pings. An unsigned message with a single attachment, footage named thethief.mp4. He opens it before coffee, before conscience. The image, Mia in the storage room, her body framed by fluorescent guilt. Timestamp cropped to ambiguity. The angle isn't from company cameras. It's closer, handheld, invasive. Rumor grows teeth. By noon, whispers shape themselves into certainty. Employees scroll on borrowed phones, sharing the frame until mercy pixelates. Noah senses it first, that shift in atmosphere, the magnetic pull of collective judgment. The kitchen hums wrong, rhythm offbeat, stainless reflecting suspicion. The email spreads upward through corporate veins, attaching itself to threads labeled urgent, loss prevention. By closing time, Greg prints stills and pins them to his clipboard. The proof glows too clean to be true. In every stolen frame, a worker disappears, replaced by a symbol the company can comfortably punish. Afternoon drips like grease from overused pans. Jessica Pratt leans near the counter, phone screen dimmed to half brightness, thumb smudging images she shouldn't own. The gossip she seeded now blooms unchecked. Her perfume cuts through steam, sharp and performative. Every workplace breeds someone who feeds on downfall. She does it elegantly, smiling through lies like customer service. Around her, chatter curdles into rumor-made flesh. Greg moves faster today, eyes glittering with managerial righteousness. Mia, oblivious, resets condiment bottles, the picture of quiet diligence. Noah senses the sabotage, but no evidence, just the residue of cruelty perfumed and practiced. He watches Jessica tuck her phone away, her laughter soft, satisfied. The smell of bacon fills the void, hiding decay. Somewhere above, the cameras record nothing of intent, only posture and timing. Truth, as always, hides between frames. The mole blends perfectly into routine, wearing hospitality like camouflage, betrayal sweetened by corporate air conditioning.
Evening heat thickens into chaos. Orders double, patience halves. Trays clatter, tickets blur under sweat. Mia moves through it until exhaustion buckles precision. A pitcher tips, glasses shatter, soda and glass splashing across linoleum. Sound freezes the room, attention converges. Shards scatter like accusation. She crouches, collecting the wreckage, fingers trembling, breath shallow. Around her, coworkers resume their tasks, pretending empathy takes too much time. Greg's distant stare weighs heavier than reprimand. The cameras blink approval, consuming everything except context. No one kneels to help, but her silence fences him off. Humiliation stands beside her, dressed in teal uniform, dripping cola. The floor smells of syrup and bleach, sweetness and punishment. When she rises, her palms are nicked, small red crescents shining against cold light. No one asks if it hurts. The clock resumes ticking. The day resumes pretending. Only the shards remember the instant her endurance cracked beneath invisible weight. The morning after humiliation, retaliation blooms in petty acts. Her locker hangs open, salt poured through the vents. The note reads nothing, only a smiley face drawn in ketchup. In the break room, laughter hides behind paper cups. Coworkers avoid her orbit, afraid contamination might look like compassion. Greg's eyes skim past her name on the schedule, already erasing. The kitchen becomes a maze of whispers. Knives hit boards with exaggerated rhythm, punctuation for cruelty. The new cameras record this too, translating misery into motion detection. Noah watches patterns form, how humiliation codifies itself in routine, how systems teach subordinates to enforce order without being told. Each day she shrinks smaller against fluorescent glare, voice fading until even apologies seem expensive. The salt dries inside her locker, crusted white like frost. In its silence, the restaurant proves efficient. Every cruelty documented, every kindness quietly declined. The cycle turns, smooth and profitable, unbothered by conscience.
He scrubs dishes until his reflection fractures in the steel. Detergent fumes claw at memory. Every bubble holds her face beneath water. The rage is soundless, compressed behind clenched teeth in obligation. He watches her shoulders bow under invisible load, the cameras above cataloging posture for compliance reports. Each blink of red light feels like a countdown to exposure. He imagines the boardroom satisfaction when numbers align, loss reduced, dignity written off as overhead. He dries his hands slowly, feeling the pulse of revolt under his skin. Outside, rain needles the dumpster lids, metallic applause for cowardice. He wants to act, but systems are walls without doors. The only weapon left is observation sharpened into resolve.
That night, alone in the dish pit, he stops pretending neutrality is wisdom. Compassion can't stay secret forever. It corrodes until it breaks metal. His reflection stares back through soap, the heir and the insurgent finally indistinguishable. The next morning brings an unfamiliar suit cutting through fryer steam. Evan Crowell moves like a verdict in tailored wool, his badge reflecting fluorescent halos. Compliance officer. His eyes, colorless as receipts, scan the room with forensic hunger. Employees stiffen. The air adjusts to policy's new gravity. Greg trails behind, eager, defensive. Crowell shakes no hands. He surveys the monitors, nods once, declares the footage actionable. Words like audit and liability leak into the kitchen, replacing casual talk. Noah keeps washing, every movement measured to avoid attention. Mia's hands tremble while stacking cups. Her breath turns audible, the sound of fear rehearsed. Crowell's gaze lingers on her, clinical, already filing her into categories. Bureaucracy doesn't need villains, only efficient instruments. By shift's end, he has written memos that smell of termination ink. The suit leaves, door swinging shut on silence. Even the fans sound cautious, as if afraid of being overheard.
Afternoon collects tension like grease in the vent. Greg paces the office, sleeves rolled, rehearsing severity. On his desk, a printed agenda titled Incident Review. The surveillance stills lie beneath a corporate logo, proof enough for convenience. Outside, Mia stacks trays, unaware her shift is scheduled to end in exposure. Crowell's memo pins the timeline: interview, suspension, documentation. Noah reads none of it but feels each step like thunder approaching. The air conditioning hums approval, a machine built for indifference. Files exchange hands, signatures predate empathy. Every protocol hums with precision, cruelty automated by procedure. Through the glass, sunlight flares across Greg's framed certificate of excellence, gilded irony. By evening, the office smells of toner and nerves. On the door, a post-it flutters. All staff meeting, mandatory 10 a.m. Noah knows what that means. He feels time constrict, the machinery of order grinding towards someone too decent to survive its rhythm. Rain scribbles against the windows, wind humming the prelude to disaster. Inside, the diner empties into hush. Chairs stacked, lights dimmed to insomnia. Mia wipes the counter slower tonight, as if delaying fate. Her eyes move to the cameras, the new lenses gleaming with certainty. Outside, Noah waits by the alley, his breath ghosting the windshield. He watches her clock out, shoulders sagged under resignation heavier than trays. The door closes softly behind her, umbrella absent, coat thin. Rain soaks her hair into black ribbons as she walks toward the bus stop. The street lamps paint halos on puddles, baptizing her in anonymity. Noah grips the steering wheel, torn between distance and interference. The system he serves demands silence. The conscience he's borrowed demands witness. She disappears into the night's wet breath. The world remains indifferent, neon reflecting its own cruelty in perfect shimmering detail across the flooded pavement.
Morning summons every uniform into the break room, air dense with caffeine and dread. Greg stands before them, laptop open, footage queued. The screen burns bluish light across tired faces. Mia's image fills it, the handheld recording, undeniable, damning. Gasps, murmurs, silence. The company's moral theater begins. The footage plays twice, then pauses on her mid-motion, half-turned toward the door, frozen in a posture that looks like apology. The projector hums judgment. Noah stands at the edge, pulse thrumming like a fault line. The walls sweat under humidity and human discomfort. No one meets her eyes. Policy has replaced empathy. The script writes itself. Outside, a delivery truck reverses, its beeping blending with Greg's measured voice, announcing the countability. Every sound feels choreographed by cruelty. Somewhere above, the camera records the meeting too, documentation of punishment for archives labeled training material. The image burns itself into memory, where shame can't be deleted. Time folds back to the opening frame, Mia beneath fluorescent glare, caught between breath and sentence. The room repeats itself, same hum, same smell of bleach and burnt coffee, same cold consensus. But now Noah understands every contour of this humiliation, how the institution recycles it like energy. The freeze frame pulses once more on the laptop, transforming human hunger into data entry. Eyes avert, coffee machines hiss, pens ready to witness. The ritual ends where it began. A woman framed as proof, a crowd absorbing absolution through silence. Noah feels the room tilt, history looping like footage replayed for compliance audits. Around him, the air thickens with policy, choking out the last fragments of decency. Outside, dawn climbs the glass, pale and uninterested. Inside, shame ossifies into procedure. What was once empathy now calcifies as evidence. The loop completes, sealing the crime of need inside the comfort of order.
Silence stretches until it snaps. Mia stands, motion stiff as gravity. Her hands clutch the hem of her apron like a flag of surrender. The room tilts beneath fluorescent fatigue. When she finally speaks, the words come soundless to Noah's ears. Only the weight is audible. Her body tells the story. Months of hunger disguised as discipline. Nights spent folding wrappers as prayers. Mornings fueled by air and obligation. Around her, faces study shoes, ceiling tiles, anything not human. The footage remains on the screen, repeating itself like accusations set to loop. Greg's clipboard trembles faintly under the strain of authority pretending compassion. Noah's breath stalls. Guilt presses on his lungs with industrial precision. Humiliation becomes liturgy, performed weekly by institutions that mistake order for righteousness. The confession ends in stillness that feels colder than reprimand. Every eye in the room carries a reflection of her defeat, recorded for corporate memory. The chorus rises soft, then sharp, whispers swelling to sanctioned noise. Policy turns crowd psychology into symphony. A cough, a mutter, a scoff. The language of compliance spoken fluently by survivors of low pay. Someone shifts uncomfortably, others nod to nothing, approving what keeps them safe. The air smells of sanitizer and fear, scrubbed clean of empathy. Noah watches voices detached from bodies, forming one obedient organism. Above them, a fluorescent buzz keeps time. Mia stands at its center, target and warning both. The screen behind her glows blue, freezing her face mid-blink, proof enough for every rumor. This is how corporations sing hymns, in the key of silence between small cruelties. The chorus fades only when Greg closes the laptop. The sound stops, the judgment doesn't. In the aftermath, utensils clatter like applause, and the air grows heavier, saturated with the sterile triumph of a rule successfully enforced.
Something fractures in the room's equilibrium. The dishwasher's mask slips. The air breathes through steam. Noah moves forward, apron falling away like a spent disguise. The break room absorbs the motion and stunned silence. No words are needed. His posture speaks lineage and betrayal in equal measure. Faces pivot toward him, curiosity mutating into disbelief. The screen behind still shows Mia mid-motion, but focus shifts from accused to accuser, from hunger to hypocrisy. The two worlds he's lived between finally collide, spilling noise into the sterile calm. For the first time, the company's machinery hesitates. Power rearranges itself across the tiled floor. In that moment, Noah ceases to be invisible. The cameras, confused by new hierarchy, blink red faster, recording the forbidden, an act of conscience interrupting protocol. Shock ripples through the crowd like an aftershock of decency rediscovered. The room exhales once, uncertain whether it's witnessing rebellion or ruin. Authority melts faster than ice under heat lamps. Greg's control fractures. The clipboard drops a dull echo against linoleum. Sweat glistens through pressed cotton, hierarchy dissolving under exposure. The staff watches the unmasking with predator stillness, scenting change. The manager's practice calm collapses into paperwork chaos. His eyes dart between Noah and the unspoken threat of consequence. In the corner, a camera captures every tremor, adding texture to evidence. Fear ripples outward like static electricity. Behind him, the company logo on the break room poster reflects off the laptop screen, corporate halo turned ironic. Noah's silence weighs heavier than argument, an accusation shaped like composure. Greg's authority, once printed in memos, now quivers in the air like overcooked meat. Systems fail most visibly when witnesses multiply. The smell of burnt coffee returns, a familiar reminder that control always tastes bitter once truth reaches room temperature. The hierarchy trembles, awaiting its next command.
The air tightens to breaking point. Noah reaches for his phone, the device that connects both worlds, grease and glass, debt and dividend. The screen flares sterile white, illuminating faces caught between awe and terror. Somewhere inside that circuitry waits the patriarch's voice, efficient, unmerciful. Noah's thumb hovers, the gesture heavy as confession. Around him, the staff dissolves into background, the diner fading into pulse and breath. The phone becomes altar and weapon, conduit for a family empire's conscience. Outside, sirens thread through city wind, harmonizing with fluorescent buzz. He raises the phone, the room reflecting in its surface. One man, one crime, one decision. Silence seals around him as he dials. The hum of the compressor merges with heartbeats, a mechanical chant of inevitability. Technology becomes priest now, mediating absolution through signal strength, ready to translate morality into minutes billed to corporate account. The connection completes, invisible, irreversible. Electric static hums through speaker holes, the disembodied sound of power. Noah's words dissolve in air, but meaning vibrates through posture, plea, proof, moral accounting. The staff freezes, witnesses to hierarchy bending in real time. The screen behind glows with the company logo, corporate scripture staring back. Mia stands still, framed by injustice turned spectacle. Every breath in the room counts as evidence. The silence between syllables becomes the message. Hunger unprofitable, compassion off policy, rules weaponized against survival. Through the phone's distant hiss, bureaucracy adjusts its tone, measuring liability rather than mercy. Noah remains upright, every nerve strung between rebellion and ruin. Outside, daylight inches up the window, too clean for what unfolds beneath it. The plea doesn't echo, it sinks. Systems rarely answer in language humans can hear. Still, the act itself marks a shift. One man deciding empathy deserves bandwidth, even if it costs him his future's inheritance.
The moment holds, fragile as spun sugar. Then comes the recounting, dates, calls, the quiet arithmetic of neglect. 2 attempts to reach helplines, 2 denials logged by indifferent software. The system's voice replayed in memory, polite and merciless. Around them, employees listen as bureaucracy unmasks itself, revealing hollow empathy, coded in policy language. Greg's shoulders sink under comprehension too late. 1,000 memos condense into one shameful pattern. Noah's pulse drums in his temples the rhythm of revelation. The fluorescent light flickers, uncomfortable with honesty. Paper rustles on clipboards, the soundtrack of evasion. What was once private struggle now stands public, undeniable, archived in sound and sight. The company's slogan, "People First," glimmers on the wall behind her, its reflection warped by tears no one acknowledges. Truth, though whispered, travels louder than marketing, and in that sterile room the myth of fairness finally starts to rot under its own spotlight. The phone line becomes corridor, stretching from grease-slick tile to marble boardroom. On the other end, authority rearranges its vocabulary. Legal terms dissolve into hesitation. The verdict shifts, suspension revoked, termination denied. Bureaucracy tastes humility for the first time in years. Greg nods mechanically, relief and terror braided. Around them, employees breathe again, not from victory but shock that mercy arrived disguised as command. The camera overhead records redemption like anomaly, uncertain whether to flag or file. Mia remains motionless, expression unreadable, dignity bruised but intact. Noah lowers the phone slowly, each movement a sentence unwritten. Systems bend only when self-preservation demands it. Even miracles here require profit forecasts. The line clicks dead, leaving silence dense as cooked grease. Somewhere outside, morning traffic resumes, indifferent. Inside, policy rewrites itself in real time, not out of conscience but exposure. Compassion here is temporary, until shareholders forget the cost of empathy.
The break room empties in stunned formation, footsteps absorbed by linoleum worn smooth by surrender. The laptop lid closes with surgical precision, sealing evidence like a coffin. Air lingers heavy with burnt coffee and disbelief. Mia's chair remains unclaimed, a negative space shaped like endurance. Noah stands alone amid echoes, scrapes of chairs, whisper trails, the mechanical sigh of refrigeration. Authority retreats to offices, hearts untouched but policies trembling. The hum of electricity fills the absence of speech, recording memory into the ceiling vents. He senses the moment freezing into rumor already forming. Hero, fool, liability. Across the tiled floor, spilled sugar gleams under fluorescent light, tiny constellations of unfinished stories. In that stillness, the diner feels larger, like a cathedral built for shame. Every surface gleams too brightly, reflecting back a truth neither he nor the company can unsee. Compassion exposed as the most dangerous act in a system built on fear. Evening compresses light into amber dust across his windshield. The phone vibrates again, the name glowing familiar, Imperial. Noah answers in silence. The reprimand arrives measured, surgical. Words travel cold through static, cutting ties invisible but firm. The city's skyline mirrors in the glass, corporate towers gleaming like accusations. He drives without destination, streets blending into one long reprimand. Above him, billboards promise opportunity with his family's logo, each letter a wound. Fury on the line burns without raising its voice. Disappointment weighs heavier than threat. Somewhere between commands, Noah glimpses his own reflection in the rear view, a man halfway between inheritance and exile. The call ends, leaving him with engine hum and guilt. The night swallows sound. Streetlights blink in rhythm with the cameras he left behind, tiny mechanical eyes still judging. In their reflection, legacy becomes a prison built of shining glass and silence too costly to break.
Glass and chrome stretch around him like judgment made architectural. The conference table gleams, wide enough to divide classes, long enough to bury nuance. Executives sit in sequence, faces powdered and calm, pens poised like scalpels. Beyond the windows, the skyline floats indifferent, skyscrapers humming profit. Noah occupies the chair farthest from comfort, a defendant framed by design. The walls breathe recycled air perfumed with power. His reflection merges with city light until privilege and guilt share the same outline. Reports stack before him, charts, losses, a photo still from the diner meeting printed in grayscale.
The company logo embossed above each page turns morality into letterhead. Voices begin, low and measured, precision crafted to wound without visible motion. Here, empathy must wear a tie to be heard. The tribunal convenes not to seek truth, but to restore balance where compassion misfired. The air hums electric, waiting to decide which part of humanity to excise first. Patricia Chin's nails tap rhythm against spreadsheets. Each tap tallies the cost of care, converting morality into percentage loss. Marcus Webb adjusts glasses, quoting industry averages that erase hunger into columns of efficiency. The room smells of roasted coffee and data, burnt, bitter, expensive. Noah listens to arithmetic perform surgery on reality, slicing Mia's life into fiscal quarters. Graphs shimmer on wall screens, curves rising like monuments to indifference. The executives nod at their own logic, comforted by objectivity. He realizes numbers have learned how to speak better than people. Each projection excuses another cruelty. Every decimal becomes justification. Flesh cannot compete with formulas. Still, under the polished table, his pulse refuses to align with their rhythm. The air vibrates with polite condemnation. In this room, statistics are scripture, and empathy heresy. The meeting continues, an autopsy of conscience disguised as financial review. Precision killing masquerading as progress.
When silence threatens to fossilize the room, he rises. His shadow crosses bar charts, bending trend lines. No prepared notes, only the residue of dishwater and truth. His voice threads through recycled air like smoke through glass, slow, uninvited, human. He speaks not of guilt, but arithmetic of hunger, turnover costs, invisible wages of despair. Every sentence lifts the fluorescent mask off compassion and lays raw math beside it. Executives shift, unsure whether to listen or defend. His words smell of grease, bus exhaust, and integrity too long unspent. The projection screens fade to screensavers, corporate oceans rolling indifferent behind him. He does not ask for forgiveness, he offers data soaked in humanity. The silence afterward feels heavier than applause. Numbers can't argue with lived fact when presented in the language of consequence. For a brief, flickering moment, the boardroom hears heartbeats louder than profit margins. Then calculators twitch and reality resumes. He turns their logic back upon itself, converting humanity into measurable yield. Compassion framed as retention, kindness recast as productivity. He builds equations where mercy increases margin, translating decency into profit language the board can stomach. Slides appear, metrics projected, turnover reduced, loyalty doubled, lawsuits prevented. The executives lean forward, interested, not inspired. Empathy becomes data point, its value secured through potential savings. Noah hates the necessity, but wields it cleanly, arithmetic retribution against the cold. The air shifts, cautious optimism replacing derision. The boardroom murmurs approval at numbers they finally recognize. He sells humanity like product, branding ethics for quarterly reports. In this transaction, everyone profits except the soul. Still, within compromise lies survival. For the first time, he understands the paradox. To save people inside systems, one must first teach compassion to wear a business suit and speak fluent greed. The applause sounds like machinery learning rhythm.
The tide turns without celebration. A spreadsheet recalculates, approval nods ripple down the table like synchronized surrender. Patricia's frown softens into curiosity. Marcus murmurs about pilot programs and scalability. The projector hums a new rhythm, charts replacing confrontation with compromise. The board leans into its comfort zone, innovation disguised as atonement. Noah feels relief slip through guilt like water through fingers. For a second, hope glimmers beneath the polished surface of capitalism, fragile yet present. The language of change now lives in bullet points and budgets, its purity diluted, but intact enough to matter. Outside, clouds drag over the city, silver reflections bending across the windows. Inside, the air lightens, no one noticing how exhaustion and belief share the same posture. The motion to consider reform carries unanimously. It's not redemption, not yet. Only the first bureaucratic breath of something that might evolve into conscience, if not forgotten by morning. After the crowd disperses, only family remains. Two men separated by glass and legacy. Richard Martinez studies his son with the calm of someone used to being obeyed. The silence stretches, precise as negotiation. Noah feels the generational weight of empire pressing through carpet fibers. The verdict arrives not in anger, but assignment. 4 weeks, one chance to prove compassion sustainable. Build it, budget it, justify it. Failure will end the experiment and his career. The instruction lands like mercy disguised as punishment. The father's reflection merges with the skyline, skyscrapers echoing the shape of control. Noah nods, not in surrender, but understanding. The dynasty offers him a crucible, not freedom. The room smells of ozone and polished guilt. Behind them, the city gleams brighter, mistaking power for sunlight. Between them, unspoken love disguises itself as regulation. He accepts the challenge because refusal feels like cowardice, and redemption demands paperwork.
Nights dissolve into spreadsheets and stale coffee. The office lights hum constant vigilance as Noah drafts frameworks for decency. Rows of numbers learn compassion under his tired hands. Graphs bloom with possibility. Meal programs, hardship funds, mental health support. He models costs against turnover, labor efficiency, public image. Kindness becomes quantifiable. Sleep vanishes, purpose expands. The keyboard clacks hymns to a different faith. Profit through empathy, margin through care. Outside, dawn bleeds over towers, painting glass with tentative warmth. In reflections, he looks like his father, but feels entirely other. Papers pile, data aligns. The model lives, sustainable, defensible, real. He realizes systems can change only if reprogrammed from within, using the same code that once destroyed. Somewhere between exhaustion and triumph, a thought surfaces. Revolution doesn't always roar. Sometimes it drafts budgets. He clicks save and exhales. The sound half prayer, half audit, knowing salvation here must always be filed in triplicate. The headquarters corridor smells of new carpet and second chances. Mia walks through it slower than confidence allows, badge gleaming under fluorescent rebirth. Her desk in employee relations holds a phone, a monitor, a potted plant learning patience. Each ring brings another voice in need. Childcare, medical bills, hunger denied by policy. Her replies carry calm authority, soft yet precise. She speaks survival fluently now, translating pain into procedure. Around her, efficiency hums, unaware that compassion has infiltrated its circuits. The past clings only in echoes, the storage room, the bag of leftovers, the children's laughter. Now purpose replaces fear. From his office window, Noah watches her steady hands, remembering the crate, the folded wrapper. Progress hums below the fluorescent lights, imperfect but alive. The system that once starved her now pays her to fix it. Irony transmuted into grace. Outside, snow begins to fall, clean enough to forgive nothing yet.
Months later, Branch 47 hums differently. The break room smells of soup and citrus cleaner instead of bleach and fear. Employees line up at the new meal station, steam rising like proof of deliverance. Laughter returns, cautious but real. Greg, humbled by audits, distributes trays instead of memos. The friar sings in friendly rhythm. Noah stands near the door, anonymous again by choice, watching nourishment replace rumor. The cameras still blink, but now record humanity rather than theft. On bulletin boards, posters read, "Staff Wellness Program, Your Effort Matters." The same words once printed punishment. The diner's soundscape, spatulas, chatter, clinking plates, reclaims warmth. No speeches, no applause, just equilibrium rediscovered. For a heartbeat, capitalism looks almost kind. Yet outside, a homeless man lingers beyond the glass, eyes following the steam, body shaking in hunger. Noah notices, the image engraving itself deep. Progress, he learns, always feeds some first, while others still wait unseen. Evening settles, soft and deceptive. Inside, full plates cool under laughter. Outside, frost sketches veins on window glass. Noah steps into the cold, the air thin with exhaust and quiet. The neon sign hums gentle apology over the sidewalk. Across the street, a teenager scavenges a discarded meal box, wiping rain from its lid before eating in silence. The scene folds into memory like a mirror, refusing flattery. Noah watches, coat open to the wind, knowing reform can't outrun hunger, it only rearranges it. Somewhere behind him, the restaurant glows with victory press releases and clean metrics. Ahead, the city continues feeding on itself. He turns away slowly, breath clouding the air like unspoken vows. Compassion may be policy now, but the world still starves beyond its reach. The night absorbs the sound of distant traffic, steady, relentless, promising another story, just like this, waiting to repeat.